What's up, guys, and welcome to our third episode of Overrated, Underrated with Resilience Training and me, Coach Mike. We got a lot of good responses, so let's get right into it, all right? Here we go. Personal trainers. Oh, wow, I guess this is a hard one because I guess technically I'm a personal trainer. So it really depends. This is why this topic is so tough. I've come across an abundance of personal trainers. To be honest, I've come across more poor ones than good ones. If you have a really good personal trainer, if you have a really good fitness coach, they're invaluable. The support that they can give you to better your health, which can better your life, is priceless. I've also come across a lot of personal trainers that are not that good. They don't bring that value. So underrated, overrated, I guess I'm gonna go with properly rated. All right, let's hit the next one. Carbs. Carbs are definitely underrated. I say that because of this. One of the more popular diets that came out somewhere around 20, 30 years ago was the Atkins diet. That is a low carb based diet. And since then, we've been demonizing carbs, thinking that carbs are the reason for weight gain, when that's merely not the case. We need carbs. Carbs are our body's main energy source. They help fuel the brain, the kidneys, the digestive system. Like, for instance, fiber is a carb. And fiber is one of the main drivers of our digestive system, and fiber helps us feel full. Especially if you're a high performer, if you're an athlete, if you work out a lot, you need carbs. Yes, some people do need a low carb diet, and sometimes I tried low carb diets with some of my own clients, yes. But in the grand scheme of things, we do need carbs, and I would say carbs are underrated. All right, let's hit the next one. Hip thrusts. I think you're talking about like the glute bridge movement, right? That you probably see everywhere, every Instagram influencer doing on their No, in all seriousness, that exercise is basically another form of a glute bridge. Some people call it tabletops, some people call it hip thrusters, whatever you want to call it. That move is definitely underrated. Now, even though I say that move is underrated, the next thing we need to talk about is the technique. The most common error I see is I see a lot of upper body movement, where instead of the momentum coming from the hip joint and squeezing, I see a lot of back leaning. So basically that person is using their back and not their butt and their hamstrings to do the movement. It's one of those movements that, if done correctly, is a really good posterior chain strengthener. It targets the hamstrings, it targets the glutes, which helps us with our posture, which helps us with our running, our squatting. A hip thrust or glute bridges, that's definitely a great move, whether you're using just your body weight, a barbell across your lap, or you're using one leg at a time. I would highly recommend, if that's not in your lower body strengthening program right now, that you place it in there. Underrated. Let's do one more. Oh, stretching. Now this gets complicated. If they're talking about static stretching, still stretching, I would say that that is overrated. Sometimes I see people go into the gym, or I see athletes hit the field, they're about to practice, and they start static stretching. Research shows that static stretching before movement, before performance, actually decreases our performance. What it does is it gets your muscles to stretch before they've been warmed. So that can actually do more harm than good. But dynamic stretching or dynamic warm-ups, dynamic movement is definitely underrated. That's what we should be doing before we lift, before we train, before we practice, before we run. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It can literally be the movement that you are about to do, or movements that you're about to do, with body weight movement or with a very, very light resistance. If I'm going to get into some barbell squats, I'm gonna do some body weight squats before I do my barbell squats. If I'm going to start running, maybe I'm gonna start jogging before I start running. Sorry for the wishy-washy answer, but it is complicated, all right? So I would say static stretching is definitely overrated. Dynamic movement or dynamic stretching, definitely underrated. Thank you guys for watching. Every week I'm going to continue to ask you guys about topics concerning nutrition, fitness, and sports performance. You send them to me and I'll rate them and let you know if they're overrated or underrated. Stay resilient.